Hey guys, and welcome back to Factorio Reddit Weekly. I'm Xterminator, and thank you for joining me. We are going again through the top posts of the last week. There's some pretty interesting ones in regards to gameplay suggestions and stuff, kind of spurred from the Friday facts. So we'll just start at the top. My brain at work, a blueprint here. Oh, this is pretty sweet. So this is actually, at first glance, you may think this is like lights, but this is actually belts. This is pretty awesome. This is belts with, I think this is plastic, it looks like, and coal. And they're like using some sort of like bots or smarts or something to do that. This is so cool, man. To like put the things exactly where they need to go. That is really, really awesome. Actually... I always usually find something interesting in the comments. I'm using 66 lines. Wow. This is super cool. Okay, so I made an infographic to help explain the basics of rail signaling. Now this one is, it's pretty awesome. So if you're having trouble with rail signals, this could definitely help you out. There's a few things that personally I do different. I don't think this person's wrong. I may be wrong, but I've never had many issues. So pretty much, they've made this infographic, and yeah, I mean, okay, so that's pretty much correct. Okay, so they've made this. So an intersection, somewhere where two rails merge into one rail or one rail splits into two rails. And these rules, and this is the part that's kind of different than how I do it, but I don't really use dual directional, like, track, like the same track. So maybe I am wrong because I don't do this very often, but at every intersection, put a chain signal at the points going into the intersection and a rail signal when exiting, which is true. I just usually do it, my wording is a little different. Simply remember chain in, rail out. If you need a mnemonic, chain in sounds like chaining. Do not have two-way rails with more than one train on that. Well, yeah, that's pretty obvious. So they give examples here. So the light blue ones are the chains and the greens are the rail signals. So for this, they're saying that you need, like, obviously this is a two-way, like on one track. So they're saying like chain on the way in and normal on the way out, and then same on this side. And that would actually, I mean, I'm trying to think, like, I guess if it goes this, I feel like with something like this, you could almost get away with just a rail signal in and a rail signal out. Like I said, I could definitely be wrong. I don't think this person's wrong. So I'm not going to like look through this whole thing, but it's really helpful. So this person then asks about like rail crossings, and this is usually like, because I build like T-junctions. I like almost never use like bi-directional track that's just one lane. And if I do, there's only ever one train on it, so I don't signal it anyway. So I usually do, like, you know, two different directions on multiple lines, so like a two-lane rail system and T-junctions. And my rule, like how I remember how to signal, is essentially rail signals before crossing and, chain signals before crossing and rail signals before a merge. And that's pretty much what this person's doing. There's no merges here because this is just a cross. But yeah, so chain signal, you know, before a cross, and then you do want a rail signal after it typically. And then like same here. I mean, I would never want to build something like this because that is extremely inefficient. But in terms of signaling goes, that's definitely... so here's a T-junction one. Let's see how this compares. So this is left-hand drive, which... I need a minute to get my brain oriented here, but this is left-hand drive, right? Yeah, so this signaling is really minimal. I think this would be sufficient. I typically like to signal it a bit more than this. So like here's what I would do is I would put, when I build my T-junctions, I would put a chain signal like here-ish before this crossing, and then I put another one in this space. Like I'd make sure I'd have enough room to put one in this space before this crossing, and then I'd put a normal signal like before this merges, and then obviously do the same in every other way. So like here I'd put a chain signal like here, and then I'd put another chain signal like in the middle before this cross, and then a normal at merge. I think this should work. It's just a little bit more minimal than I usually do, but I think this would technically be fine. It's more signal efficient, I suppose. But I always like to be safe and just stick them like the chain signals before every crossing, rather than just one for like 2 crossings, if that makes sense. Either way, though, this is a really, really helpful graph. So definitely worth checking out. My shitty mock-up of how I think the blueprint library should work. Intuitive organization, easily navigable, no more items. So this is kind of how I wish the devs decided to do it. Pretty much it just works like a file explorer system, where you have like your blueprint library, and you can actually have like categories, and then within these it's just names. It's not the icons, right? This is like, I don't like the grid system for blueprints. It works great for the inventory, but for blueprints I think it's a very poor way to do it, because you only have like, you can't really represent some blueprints, especially if you have similar ones like rails, with just an icon. And then even if they had names, the grid system just makes it like you just have to like look through the whole thing. Whereas if you actually had something like this that was more like a file browsing system, it would be so much easier, because you can just be like smelters or assembly lines or trains, and then filter, and then even do like subcategories. Like it literally would just work like a folder system, like in Windows or whatever, is my understanding. I think this would be fantastic. I really wish the devs had decided to do this rather than the grid system, which I just think doesn't work at all for blueprints. So this is a really, really cool mock-up they did. I think this would be fantastic. And I do want to look at the comments on this one. It's unfathomable why it's an item. I understand that it might be been easier to implement when they were introduced, but when talking about redesigning it, why oh why holding on to an item-based blueprint? Yeah, although, I mean, Scarf and I discussed in one of the Friday Facts videos that like why it would be a concern if they're not an item. There are some issues with them not being an item as well. Yeah. Here you go. Why are red and green wires still crafted objects? That is a good question. I think it's kind of silly to have them like, I mean, they should just be like free, like, I don't know. I don't think you should have to craft them. And this is exactly what I said. Icons don't work for blueprints except when a single icon describes a blueprint perfectly, and even then, you have to set it manually because the default is an assembler or belt. A yellow science factory can use the yellow science icon, sure, but anything focused refining or rails or belts ends up being this cryptic set of 4 ruins that is hard to even see unless your GUI is magnified. While I would like to see some auto-generated fields in the list, dimensions, most common recipes, maybe number of times placed, the most important thing is being able to name the prints and view a list of names just like you've proposed. Yeah, pretty much this. I mean, you can name your blueprints, but like when you're looking in the library, the names don't display in the grid. You have to like mouse over every single blueprint to display the name, which I think is kind of ridiculous. I really wish something like this had been implemented for sure. So we tried to go around the nearby lake. Holy crap. Dude, this reminds me of Bentham, Mangled Pork's playthrough. One he did quite a lot. It was like Train World or something. It was a really popular one. He did it for tons of episodes where he just had this massive lake. This is insane, man. Firing up a megabase. Oh, this is really cool. The pollution cloud growth over 1 hour in a megabase. This is really, really intriguing to watch. You can just like see the pollution growing, man. This is so cool. These are probably going to connect here. Oh my gosh, this is really awesome to watch. After an 8-minute train ride, I finally found my first Giga ore patch. 1.1 billion. Wow. This is nuts. 8-minute train ride. If they're at 60, they're about 60 EP. That's a really long train ride. Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, I love these Steam reviews. Yeah, it's okay. 1934 hours played. It's okay. Finally hit 10k science a minute on my mostly vanilla mega base. A Calvin and Hobbes thing. I want all the praise and elation that comes with being a Factorio master. I spent 2 weeks copy and pasting blueprints so my bots could make me the biggest mega base ever, and I only had to cheat a little. Good luck. Surely you concede. I deserve it. Only had to cheat a little. Getting 2k, nothing but blueprints copied from the internet would be worthy of praise. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty impressive if they just, like, used, like, random blueprints or something. Huge island spawn. Oh, this is a really cool map. If you guys are looking for a cool map to play, the seed's here. This is, like, a really big island spawn. It even connects over here, so it's, like, this big whole island right there. That's pretty awesome. Oh, yeah. Factorio is bronze status in terms of top sellers on Steam, which I think is awesome. Or right here. You know, with the likes of Stardew Valley, Hearts of Iron even, Gary's Mod, Terraria. This is for 2018. Sims 3, Watch Dogs 2. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, obviously, you can't compete with something like, you know, Far Cry or PUBG or something. But that's still really, really awesome. When you invite your wife to play Factorio. Oh dear. I spent the last 6 hours looking. Oh, this are seating. Yeah, he spent 6 hours looking into a desync report, all for this. Fix the desync related to cars on belts. Yep. Cars on belts, man. My tortellini base. Oh, they even got like snow. Hey, that's pretty cool. It's like kind of spaghetti, but it's like really clean spaghetti. Yeah, like a tortellini. It's like super compact. I mean, they leave almost no space. I mean, that's kind of like how a spaghetti base works, but this is just like a lot more of an organized spaghetti base. This is like really neat. Okay, so this is modded because that's obviously not vanilla stuff. It looks like maybe Bob's, although I don't see Bob's buildings. This may just be like Factorio Extended or something. Because I know that has like a couple new like plates and ores. I love the snow though. It's really cool. Big kudos to the devs. Yeah, so pretty much just saying like how interesting the game is, and you know, how like things can kind of just unlock, like click in your brain as you go through, and it's a super satisfying feeling. Aesthetically is brilliant. My wife says that in 2018 a game doesn't need to look like this, but you know, she doesn't like get it, you know? It's about systems, man. The systems. Yes. Some have graphics, some have storyline, chess has a tangential relation, never mind. Legos are the foundation of my childhood, and Factorio stimulates imagination, creativity, and analytical parts of my mind. Yep. Pretty much. Belts are efficient when bots are effective, but only trains are awesome. That is true. Trains are also terrifying. This is cool. It's a YouTube video, so I'm not going to play it, but grid system for ethereal trains. This is really cool. Definitely worth checking out, guys. Quality of life mod, a lot of you have been asking for. Something with like Bob's mods. Hydrogen. Okay. It's not much, but it's my first rocket and it's 2 a.m., so I should go to sleep. Hey, congrats to this person, man. Always a great feeling in launching your first rocket ever. Universal Assembler. Oh, this is, so this, I'm guessing this will just, like, switch automatically, right? Yeah, so it's just using, like, a Angel's Warehouse to store all the products, and then it will just, like, switch what it's making. This is super cool. Wow. Pretty awesome, man. It's so cool to see what people come up with. Trying to purge, it took me longer than expected. Oh my god. They just like walled this whole thing in and they gotta purge all this. That is a lot of biter clearing. That is a ton of biter clearing. This reminds me of, brings back memories of like the SpaceX days when the aliens dropped artifacts and you needed the artifacts for the science. So many artifacts farmed for SpaceX stuff. So this was just the red circuits and bobs. Yeah, Bob's Mods is a little bit ouchy. Trainception, it works. Playing Factorio, looking at a train at a train station. Pretty awesome. Mod question, don't upvote. Okay, I'm playing C-Block right now, but I want to play some Manila in between sessions, kind of disable all the mods and start new save and then re-enable. Right, so what I like to do is just create separate mod folders in my Factorio folder, because Factorio will only pick up, will only recognize mods in a folder that's called mods. So I have like 5 or 6 folders in my Factorio main folder that are all different sets of mods, and they're just, so like when I want one, so for my, like the tightening of the belt, I just name it mods, right? Because that's what Factorio will pick up. And then all the others, I just put like mods dash and then whatever like gameplay thing they're for. So like creative or tutorials or whatever. And Factorio won't recognize those because it's not named just mods. But then I can easily just rename them. And I think there's a more efficient way to do it too that I didn't entirely understand. But that's usually how I like to do it. Friday Facts. And lastly, my first base, which went through different versions of the game. Oh, these are really interesting. Like Mojo's belt base, I think. His belt base is from like 11 or 12 version? It like went through different versions. It's always interesting to see. The hell is this? It's like a ship. I don't know what that is. Wow. Look at this generation, man. Holy crap. This is like old school generation, I think. This is pretty crazy. Yeah, looking back at like generation, like multiple versions ago, is pretty weird to look at. But that's going to do it for this week, guys. Some really interesting ideas and posts here for sure. I really like the idea in regards to the mod portal and that's, or not the mod portal, the blueprint library and such. And we'll kind of see what happens from there. And this infograph is definitely helpful. If you're having problems with train signaling, you can check this out. It may even be linked in the sidebar at some point soon. But I think that's going to do it. Oh, and this is just amazing too. As always, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Leave your thoughts down below. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and do take care.